Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Mudita Bhattagoda. I'm a Senior User Experience Lead at 99x Technology, and we are going to talk about designing better mobile applications with React Native and our own framework, Firstborn. So, what is Firstborn and how to work with it? I know most of you haven't heard about it right now. What's the new thing that we were cooking up for some time, and we want to improve it and get your feedback on it, and we need to tell all about Firstborn to you because I want and we want every one of you to use it. So let's dive in, and before everything, we need to know what you guys are going to get by our webinar. So what to expect? A little brief on our framework at the very first point and what influenced us, or in this case me as the designer, to design the framework, and how to create your own framework at your work, at your home, anywhere. And then I'm going to talk about the ideation process where I got the ideas, where I put my ideas into the actions and whatnot, and how to conduct a competitor analysis. If you are new to this word, I will explain what is it all about, and how to select your own design method. We are talking about atomic design at this very webinar, and the story behind my framework, and we are going to have a little dive in, if the time permits, to the Firstborn framework. So let's start from the very first or the very beginning to Firstborn. So what is Firstborn? The Firstborn is a React Native framework that allows designers and developers to keep the design standards into a very strict part of when they are designing. Because when you start designing, I know if you are a designer, you will get into most of the time into trouble because your design standards are not up to the par. Because if you take an example, if you take iOS design standards and their guidelines, and if you try to put the app into the market, to the App Store, and then what happens is most of the time your app can get rejected. So you will not accept that fact, but the thing is they are very thorough with their guidelines and they want to be very strict, and Android as well. So how to cater to everyone and develop an app in a very fast time? Like you might not have all the budget, you might not have all the time, but your client or yourself, assume that you're an entrepreneur, want to create an app very quickly. How to do it? We will give you Firstborn to do it. So what influenced me? What influenced our design team to create Firstborn? It's all about making mistakes. When we started one of our projects and we didn't use a framework and we have to do everything from the scratch, we encounter many things. Before starting our own project, we do basic research on what to take as the front-end technology and how feasible it is. So we went through a couple of frameworks, and we found key points where we found that these applications create these boundaries or barriers when it comes to application design. First barrier is limitations with the third-party plugins. So if you take frameworks, modern day frameworks, most of the framework have these problems. When you try to apply third-party plugins, when you see these plugins, you find them, I like this plugin, I want to use this in our application, but oops, when you start installing it, because there is a dependency in your third-party plugin that doesn't help with your framework. And adding customizations to elements, that is one of the key things. When you take a framework, you don't want to use it as it is. Either you have to design for the framework or you have to customize the framework to your design. So that's a big problem when adding customizations to your framework. So we need to look into ways that we can minimize this problem, and injecting colors to the same element in different ways. Let's say you take a button, you want to have this button as a let's say cancel button and a submit button. Most of the time we use two different colors to show it, but some frameworks doesn't allow that, because when you create a button, then that button has these certain set of properties, but it doesn't change throughout the cycle of your application. That's a problem. And I have seen many design patterns come and go away. Most of them are really complex and really hard to use in certain domains. When you select the front-end technology, you have to look into that, but most of the time it is invisible until otherwise you will come across a certain problem. So these are the key things that we thought which is necessary to have a look into. Let's dive in and see what we thought is important that we created Firstborn to reduce. Create first and foremost. If you are designing, and if you are a front-end developer or if you are a designer, if you have limitations, then your imaginations and your creativity is limited. We can't bulletproofly eliminate everything, every limitation in an application there. We can limit our applications to a certain extent, but we can deliver more than 90% limit-free application that we thought by using Firstborn. That was kind of a improvement that we thought at the initial stage of the application. And I think Flex is kind of a cool thing to use at these ages. Everyone likes to use Flex. The name says it all, and it's really flexible to use Flex in as if you're writing CSS, and if you are known to React Native, you can put elements where you want using Flex. So we were thinking about using Flex into its full potential and help the developers to manage the code more meaningfully. When you have so much of lines of codes, I don't have to tell the developers about it. They know the pain they go through every day when the lines of codes are getting lengthier and lengthier. So we want to reduce it. And the recode. When you're working with React Native, and I know if you are a coder like that, you have seen this. You have to redesign. If you are firstly going through Android, and if you are implementing for Android, then you have to re-implement for iOS. Then you have to write the codes or the styling codes for iOS as well. So that takes so much of your time, and that will cost your organization little more than you expected on the budget. So we want to reduce that. And we want to inject different set of colors into different set of platforms as well. We were thinking about not just one platform, we were thinking about iOS and Android specifically when thinking about Firstborn. And we want to be precisely aligned with design guidelines and standards, which is really important, and we don't want you to get rejected at the latter part of your development life cycle, where you go and put your application into the App Store. So we had all these cool things in our mind, and we started looking into creating a process. When we think that we are creating our own UX process, we want to create our own framework. So we want a process to create our framework, because everything has to be aligned properly, and we need to know when and where to come up with each and everything. So what you are seeing now is a generic UX process. There are many other different UX processes. In our organization, we practice our own UX process. This process I took from UX Mastery, and I'm just improving this one into my own process. We basically start, I think I'm not going to educate you guys on the UX process at this very moment, then it will take most of our time. But I will go through the smallest areas very quickly. First of all, we create a strategy where we come with a branding and where we find out what to create and what are the things that we have to consider, and we need to understand where we stand up as a product, and we do the basic research where we try to get information through interviews, observations or surveys and whatnot, and then we do an analysis on the findings on the research that we have found. Then we create personas, basically personas to understand who we are designing for, and basically understand what is to be designed for them. And we go through the design process where we create journey maps, workflows, wireframes and prototypes, basic prototypes, and we go into visual designs afterwards. And when you get it done and we go to production where we actually implement the framework and then put it out into the market, we launch the product. And lucky me, if our developers are very good, extremely good, and I'm Professor X, we don't have we have a bug-free product. Unlucky me, I'm not Professor X, and even though my designers are extremely good, we still come up with suggestions, comments, and improvements. So we do a beta launch and we try to evaluate what's there, and if everything falls apart, we have to do the research from the very beginning, or we just start from the workflows where we have to go back and see where we are failing at. If everything goes right, we do the proper launch, and then we expect your comments. So that's what I really went through. It's very colorful, as you can see. We came up with our own strategy where we did our branding, and we came up with a very funny logo. It's cute and funny and very different. And we did our own research to our product, and we did a competitor analysis to understand the competitors who are at the market at this very moment, who are doing it differently and who are doing the same thing. Since this product is not a product we are going to sell, it was just totally free, so we didn't bother a lot. But anyway, we needed to understand how they are doing at the moment and what they are doing at the moment, and what is the unique value proposition at that time they had in their product, and we need to understand how they were doing it. So we came up with a very brief idea what to create and whom to create. This framework mainly focused on the people who has less coding experience and little bit of design experience, not pros, but the people who like to become pros. We were focusing more on them, and we created a certain set of wireframes, but we were mostly sticking on to design guidelines for Android and iOS, and we start our own designs. We created our own designs and we started the implementation. We used only one single developer, and she has to do everything, and she has done a marvelous job on that. And we did the testing on our own, because in normal life cycle, when you do a framework, we wait until a product comes to you, or wait until they go through a product and work on it. But in our instance, we were very lucky to work on a product which is actually in the market, and which was going to the market. There were two products, and we were very lucky, and we test the product in the real environment, and we were amazed that the results were so good and the timing of it was really good. And we found out that we were reducing so much time on development by using this framework, and there were some constraints and there were so many improvements that we had to make, and the testing was finding every bug that we need to find. And we launched our Firstborn product, 4 months back, and now it's passing 800 downloads. I'm happy to tell that, and we have 200 more than 200 stars on GitHub, and we were very lucky to have a product running with the days. And I think we have to go through different scenarios here, and I was very quickly, I have to go through a competitor analysis on what we have done when we create our own process, and we have to tell our own competitor analysis. We have done our own work. These are the very fundamental footsteps we took. I'm not going to explain how to do a competitor analysis at this very moment with the given time that we have, and I will explain what we try to do here. We took all our competitors' URLs and we stored in one location, and we had two types of, all of our products in the world has two types of competitors. One type is direct competitors, and the other type is indirect competitors. For all direct and indirect competitors, these core values where I have mentioned in the presentation is much needed. So what we did was we were going through each and every competitor, and we were collecting their URLs from the website or from the App Store, mainly websites, and we try to check what is the purpose of the website. Is it a framework? Is it purely a framework, or is it a UI library, just a UI library? And how they were presenting their data, from images, do they have videos, do they have text only, are they using interactive layouts, something like that. And we checked whether they are having their own social media networks to present the values, whether they have pages, Facebook pages, Instagram pages, Twitter pages, or something like that. And we checked the content types, is text, image, something like that. And we checked whether we can personalize the features in the pages, what they have created as a website. But this is not a critical factor when it comes to creating a framework. We just want to see how they are doing it. So we didn't highly prioritize on that particular part, but we were very focused on the competitive advantage that they were focusing on the other products at that moment, the direct and the indirect competitors, and we check what they are giving uniquely and why they are unique, and we want to give our unique value proposition where Firstborn is unique in certain cases. And we check the reviews. Basically what we do is we go and check how many bugs or how many problems that the users would put into GitHub, and check the general comments, and we did our own analysis and found out where we have to focus and how to focus. And first of all, we had our own process, and now we did our analysis and we came up with prototypes and whatnot, and we have to find a very good design method where we put our framework on. We found atomic design to be the one to go through. It's a framework, it's a design method which is done by Brad Frost. You can Google and find out more details about this framework. Here we are talking about different elements. We are talking about atoms, molecules, organisms, templates, and pages. Some of you have already heard about this design method, but I think the way we interact and created our framework is quite unique, and I think it's really important to understand how we did it, so you guys can do maybe better design, better frameworks, and and contribute to the community. So let's see how we did it. In order to understand the design method, we need to understand how we start our basic elements. So basic elements are shown in atoms. This is the smallest element in the design. So wild guess. In a mobile application, we have inputs, buttons, labels, images, icons, typography, everything fall into atoms. And we had atoms for iOS and Android, but you only have to style one atom, then it will take different values to different types of platforms. If you are using, if you are creating an application for iOS, then you have to style once. Let's say you are changing, you are creating a button from the scratch. We are giving that feasibility for you guys, so where you can go and create a button, and if you want to style it, you can just input the colors, and if you want to inject two colors into the atom, say button, you can inject two colors, then the Android will show a different color and iOS will show a different color. You don't have to recode again and again. The code is done once. Molecules. Molecules are collection of atoms. Atoms are individual. Molecules gives a meaning to atoms. Let's take a good guess. Have you seen the Facebook, chat icon where you can see a notification bar where you see that how many people are chatting with you, how many notifications that you get? These are the molecules, a collection of molecules. Sorry, collection of atoms created into molecules. And I think one of the very famous example for mobile application is a search, because mobile application, when the pages get lengthier, you have to search, and a search can be a molecule. We'll go to the next one very quickly and try to understand by combination of molecules you are creating an organism. So what is an organism? Have you seen menus? I think different types of menu. In Android, you have the hamburger menu, and hamburger menu has a set of number of items in it. That means that collection of molecules can create organisms, such as that menus, and let's say forms where you have multiple elements inside. It can be a search, it can be an input box, it can be action button, collection of them is created into an organism. In our application, in our Firstborn application, we are creating our own organisms, and we are giving you the freedom to work with the organisms and to create your own organisms as well. We are giving the full flexibility to create your organisms. And with the collection of organisms, we are creating templates. In Firstborn, you are free to create templates as much as you like and call the template whenever you want. And when the template is created, you can use it and reuse the template again and again with less time and get the maximum out of the framework. And I know every one of you know now what this is. By using templates, you can create different set of pages. A template can be one single thing, but page, you can manipulate the template into pages and create multiple pages with less code and less effort with both of the platforms, Android and iOS, with Firstborn. Excited so far? I hope you are. We were considering two platforms, Android and iOS, as I have told many times, and we were looking into these design guidelines. I am more than happy to go through them, and we were looking into these specific guidelines very quickly, and we were creating our framework according to the guidelines which are mentioned here: Android design guidelines and iOS design guidelines. So let's kind of have a dive in to Firstborn and see. We are going straight to GitHub, and right, cool. we're just importing our web page. We are just waiting until it downloads. Hopefully there it is. Hope everyone can see it. So this is our GitHub page. The Firstborn is here, and we are gonna have a little walkthrough very quickly and how we create the elements. So I think you can go to this website and get started with the application directly, and have a go through very fast. And this is how we create the atoms, and everything is mentioned. It's very easy, it's very feasible for you guys to go through the application and create your own applications very fast. We have mentioned all the guidelines that you have to use in order to create the iOS and the Android applications very fast. These are different types of icons that we have created, and badges for the different types of platforms, and the button types. Everything is just a copy and paste, and it works miracles. There are different types of button types that we have created for you guys and use, and we have created different types of we're going all the way data pickers for Android and iOS. These elements are fully customizable. You can start and do different if you want. You can be different with us, and you can do different element types. As you can see, these are drop downs for Android and iOS, both Android and iOS, and text areas, which is a cool thing that we do for you guys. Have a look into it. And we are taking molecules, as you can see. I think this documentation is quite self-explanatory, and I really encourage you guys to go through the application and download Firstborn and use it in maybe your first mobile application, and give us a very good feedback, so we will know how you guys went through. We'll just go back to our presentation very quickly, and we have come to our very end of our presentation. So I like to take few questions if the time permits, and give us the opportunity to answer a few questions. Do we have any questions? So far so good. I think after presentation, either you understood everything very well or you didn't understood anything at all. But I really hope you guys went through our presentation, and I hope you guys really liked it. And please enjoy it and have a crack on our framework. And please be open to tell what do you think about it. And I think every one of you will join in our next webinars, and we are more than happy to welcome you. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for tolerating. Thank you very much.